Newton's second law of motion explains how the motion of an object changes when a resultant force acts on it. It is one of the most important laws in mechanics and is represented by the equation F equals ma. More precisely, the equation is written as F net equals ma, where F net is the resultant or net force acting on the object, m is the mass of the object, and a is its acceleration. The law states that the acceleration of an object is directly proportional to the resultant force acting on it and inversely proportional to its mass. It also tells us that the acceleration always occurs in the direction of the resultant force. The first important idea is the resultant force. An object can have several forces acting on it at the same time. These forces might include an applied force, friction, air resistance, tension, weight, or a normal reaction force. Because force is a vector quantity, both magnitude and direction must be considered when combining forces. The resultant force is the vector sum of all the forces acting on the object. Newton's second law must be applied to this resultant force, not simply to one individual force. The image demonstrates what happens when the resultant force changes while the mass remains constant. If a small resultant force acts on an object, it produces a small acceleration. If the resultant force is increased while the mass remains unchanged, the acceleration also increases. This is expressed mathematically as acceleration being directly proportional to the resultant force. We can write this as a proportionality relationship, a proportional to F net, when the mass is constant. This means that if the resultant force is doubled, the acceleration doubles. If the resultant force is tripled, the acceleration also triples, provided that the mass remains constant. For example, imagine a block with a constant mass on a smooth horizontal surface. If a force of 5 newtons produces an acceleration of 2 meters per second squared, increasing the resultant force to 10 newtons would produce an acceleration of 4 meters per second squared. The relationship is linear because the acceleration changes in the same ratio as the resultant force. This is one of the most important applications of Newton's second law. The second major idea shown in the image is the effect of mass. When the resultant force remains constant, increasing the mass reduces the acceleration. This is because acceleration is inversely proportional to mass. Mathematically, we can write acceleration as proportional to 1 divided by mass when the resultant force is constant. Therefore, if the mass is doubled while the same resultant force continues to act, the acceleration becomes half as large. If the mass is tripled, the acceleration becomes 1/3 as large. This can be understood using a simple comparison between a light object and a heavy object. If the same force is applied to a light mass and a heavy mass, the lighter object accelerates more strongly, while the heavier object accelerates less. This is because the heavier object has greater inertia and therefore offers greater resistance to a change in its motion. For example, pushing an empty shopping trolley is much easier than accelerating the same trolley when it is heavily loaded. If exactly the same force is applied to both, the empty trolley experiences greater acceleration. The central equation, F net equals ma, allows us to calculate any one of these 3 quantities when the other 2 are known. If we know the resultant force and mass, we can calculate acceleration using A equals F net divided by m. If we know the mass and acceleration, we can calculate the resultant force using F net equals ma. And if we know the resultant force and acceleration, we can calculate mass using m equals F net divided by a. This makes Newton's second law an extremely useful equation for solving numerical problems. The example at the bottom of the image demonstrates this calculation. The resultant force is 20 newtons, and the mass is 5 kilograms. To calculate the acceleration, we divide the resultant force by the mass. So acceleration equals 20 divided by 5, which gives 4 meters per second squared. Therefore, the object accelerates at 4 meters per second squared in the direction of the resultant force. The direction of acceleration is extremely important. Acceleration is not necessarily in the direction of an individual applied force, it is in the direction of the resultant force. For example, suppose a block experiences a 20 Newton force toward the right and a 5 Newton force toward the left. The resultant force is 15 newtons toward the right. Therefore, the acceleration is also toward the right. Even though there is a force acting toward the left, the larger rightward force determines the direction of the resultant force and therefore the direction of acceleration. This idea becomes particularly important when several forces act on an object. Imagine a car moving along a road. The engine may provide a driving force toward the front, while friction and air resistance act backward. The car accelerates forward only if the forward force is greater than the opposing forces. The difference between these forces gives the resultant force. It is this resultant force that must be used in Newton's second law. If the forces balance, the resultant force is zero and the acceleration is zero. If the forward force is greater, the car has a forward acceleration. If the backward forces are greater, the car accelerates backward, which in the context of its original forward motion means it is slowing down. The image also highlights an important A-level examination point. Always use the resultant force in Newton's second law rather than simply using one individual force. This is a very common source of mistakes. Before applying F equals ma, you should identify all the relevant forces, determine their directions, and calculate their vector sum. Only after finding the resultant force should you substitute it into Newton's second law. The SI unit of force can also be understood from this equation. Force is measured in newtons, mass is measured in kilograms, and acceleration is measured in meters per second squared. Since force equals mass multiplied by acceleration, 1 Newton is equal to 1 kilogram meter per second squared. Therefore, if a resultant force of 1 Newton acts on a mass of 1 kilogram, the object experiences an acceleration of 1 meter per second squared. Newton's second law can also be connected directly to Newton's first law. If the resultant force is zero, then F net equals zero. Since F net equals ma and mass cannot normally be zero for an ordinary object, the acceleration must also be zero. When acceleration is zero, velocity remains constant. Therefore, Newton's first law can be viewed as a special case of Newton's second law where the resultant force is zero. It is important to distinguish between force and acceleration. A force does not necessarily mean that an object is accelerating in the direction of that particular force. What matters is the combined effect of all forces. An object accelerates only when there is a non-zero resultant force. If the resultant force is zero, the object has zero acceleration even though several individual forces may still be acting on it. The key relationships shown in the image can therefore be remembered very simply. When mass is constant, increasing the resultant force increases acceleration. When the resultant force is constant, increasing mass decreases acceleration. The acceleration always points in the direction of the resultant force, and the complete mathematical relationship between these quantities is F net equals ma. This law provides the fundamental connection between forces and changes in motion and is used throughout mechanics to explain and calculate the motion of objects.